Hello, everyone. This is Derek Snyder with the National Weather Service in Paducah. Um, it's about 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, February 15th, 2025. We're going to go through the very particularly dangerous situation in terms of flash flooding that we're expecting across parts of the region today. And then we'll go into some more specifics. We have a risk for severe weather this afternoon and evening. And then beyond that, we have a big wave of very cold, bitter, cold Arctic air, and then potentially some accumulating snow with travel impacts next week. So there's a lot going on. First things first, with the flood watch, as you can see here on the map here on the right side of the screen, no change to the flood watch that we've had so far. Flood watch from Poplar Bluff to Cape Girardeau in southeast Missouri, to Marion and Carmine in southern Illinois, then Petersburg, Princeton in southwest Indiana. So all those areas along the south of that line are in a flood watch. And we're calling this a particularly dangerous situation, flood watch. We're expecting widespread rainfall totals across the flood watch area of 2.5 up to 5 inches of rain through late tonight. And then in western Kentucky, the model guidance is really keen in on this potential corridor of even higher amounts of 5 to 8 inches in a stripe somewhere across western Kentucky. And then we'll go into more details about where that might set up here in a little bit. But and the big picture is once this rain moves out tonight, it's going to get much colder tomorrow on Sunday, and the rain actually could change over and end as a little bit of light snow showers with some maybe light accumulation of dustiness snow Sunday morning, especially across the areas along and north of I-64. In addition to all that rain and the changing to snow, we do have a small risk for severe thunderstorms later this afternoon and evening. This would mainly be across the Missouri Boot Heel into the southern parts of western Kentucky along the Kentucky-Tennessee border. That looks to be very conditional. It really depends if we can get enough instability up out of Tennessee into our area. But so the risk is low, but it's not zero. And then once all the rain and all the storms are out of here, we're going to have lingering river flooding for several days, particularly along the Green River and the Ohio River. In more of a short fuse time frame in the Hopkinsville area, we're also concerned about flooding on the Little River at the 6880 and at the bypass. And then, like I said, once we get the cold into here next week, we also have potential for accumulating snow with impacts. So there's a lot going on. So I'll do my best to go through each thing and explain why we're so concerned about each thing and the flood watch as well. So here's the latest rainfall forecast. As you can see, across the flood watch area, a swath of roughly two inches for like Poplar Bluff, Cape Girardeau, Marion to Evansville, up to the White River Valley. But then totals of 3 to 4 from Owensboro and Henderson, back down to places like Sikeston, and then 4 to 6, a wide swath across the Missouri Boot Heel and almost all of West Kentucky. And then you can even see here where these darker colors are, from Murray down to northwest Tennessee up to like Trigg County, almost to Hopkinsville. We actually have a swath now of 6 to 8 inches of rain forecasted. This is just from now through late tonight, early Sunday morning. So that's a lot of rain that's going to fall in a short period of time. In our timing map here on the right, we do have we have rain widespread across the area right now. Moderate, locally heavy rain, especially along the Kentucky-Tennessee border. We're actually expecting the rain to increase in intensity during the afternoon and into the evening hours. And the heaviest rain might actually fall towards the end of the event, where we might see some brief periods of 1 inch per hour or greater rainfall rates. And so things are already getting very soggy out there, and this heavy rain potential on top of all that is going to make things even worse. And so one reason why we're so concerned about that, I'm going to X out of here for a minute and show you. The Weather Prediction Center, which is a branch of the National Weather Service, they issue these products called excessive rainfall outlooks. And I have the one for today here. So this is centered over West Kentucky. They have this area here in pink, which is indicating a high risk of excessive rainfall. This is very unusual for them. We went back and looked. This is the first time our area has been placed in a high risk of excessive rainfall since 2018. So, we're talking 7 years there. Areas in red here, basically encompassing the flood watch area that we have out right now, have a moderate risk of seeing excessive rainfall. And then you go further to the north and west, it trends down to a slight and eventually a marginal risk in green. So usually when we get a moderate or a high risk of excessive rainfall, we're talking about big time flooding, flooding in places that normally don't see flooding. And then much more than your typical, low-lying, poor-drained areas, ditches are filling up with water type flooding. We're talking, maybe major highways closed, damage to infrastructure with roads being washed out, bridges being washed out, things like that. And then many numerous small creeks and streams rising well out of their banks, which would cause potential for maybe even evacuations or water getting into homes and businesses. So this could be a really big deal today, and that's why we're so concerned. One more thing that the Weather Prediction Center put together, about 1/3 of all flood fatalities over the last, since 2010 or so, have occurred on these high-risk ERO days, so high risk of excessive rainfall. And about 80% of all flood-related damages occur on these high-risk days. So that's why our concern is so high. The chances of there being, extreme rainfall rates that are going to cause big-time flooding, a place that don't normally see flooding, in addition to water getting into homes and businesses, which could cause even more damage, and the damage to infrastructure. That's why today is such a concerning day for us. And so it's an all-hands kind of day for the National Weather Service here in Paducah. We're going to have lots of people coming in later today to help out with both the flooding aspect and the severe aspect. So it's an all-hands-on-deck day. So the best thing we're really stressing is just be prepared for flooding. The best thing you can do, especially if you're traveling, is make sure you don't try to drive through a flooded road and turn around, don't drown. Is the biggest thing, and stay vigilant today. It's a good day for that. So moving on to other impacts here, in addition to the rain that we're going to have today, it's all going to drain to the local area, local streams and rivers. And so the map here on the left is the current stages of area rivers. So the little dots there indicate the current stages from no flood up to major flood stage. So as you can see, we have several dots here which are orange and yellow, which mean the river's at action stage, which is basically bankfall, or minor flood stage. And then on the right here, you can see our forecast over the next several days, what we're expecting. As you can see here, we do have a dot here on the Little River near Hopkinsville that's forecast to go into major flooding. Another gauge there is forecast to go into minor flooding. Over here across West Kentucky, we have moderate to minor flooding along the Green River. And then up here around Evansville in Owensboro, we have minor flooding forecasted down much of the Ohio River for places like Mount Vernon, Indiana, Shawneetown, Paducah, Olmsted Lock and Dam, Cairo, all the way down to the Mississippi River at Hickman, Kentucky. So this is going to be a long duration flooding event on the rivers around here. It's going to take several days for all the water to drain out of the region. I can go into some specific areas here. So here's the Green River latest forecast. On the left here, we have Paradise, Kentucky. The river's forecast to jump well into moderate flood stage, around 391.6 feet. That's the elevation of the river. It's not going to be 300 feet high, but it is forecast to stay through moderate flood stage for pretty much the first half of next week at least. And then at Calhoun here, Calhoun Lock and Dam, we have moderate flooding, high and moderate flooding forecast by the middle of next week, approaching major flood stage. This is probably, looking at the historical crest, this is the highest forecast level at Calhoun since 2019 in the spring. So it's been about 5 or 6 years since the last time we had flooding this severe on parts of the Green River. Along the Ohio River at Owensboro and Newburgh Lock and Dam, we have minor flooding, forecast by the middle to end of next week. at Owensboro, and then the river's dipping right now at Newburgh, but it should rise back into minor flood stage through much of next week. At Evansville, the river is also falling a little bit, but we have it rising rapidly early next week and then reaching minor flood stage level towards the end of next week. And then at Shiningtown, Illinois, the river's currently in minor flood stage, and we have it rising closer to moderate flood stage by this time next week. Downstream, Paducah and Cairo, minor flooding forecast at both points by the middle part of next week. Both rivers are on the upswing. And then with the releases coming from Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley, those are going to obviously add extra water coming into the Ohio at these points as well. On more of the short-term guidance, the Little River, South Fork Little River at Hopkinsville, 6880 and bypass. We have 6880 spiking into minor flood stage, almost moderate flood stage by the end of today, early tomorrow morning. And then similarly for bypass, we have it cresting in major flood stage. And actually, this is the highest forecasted flood stage for the bypass gauge since I believe about this time in 2021. So it's been about 4 years. So these gauges, these forecasts are a little bit lower confidence. The drainage area for these spots is very, very small. So if the rain falls in just the right spot, it could be really, really bad. Or if it misses it, it could be much less. So we'll keep updating the forecasts for the Little River gauges near Hopkinsville. But as it stands right now, Hopkinsville bypass, South Fork Little River, we have major flooding forecasts late tonight into early Sunday morning. We also have severe weather potential for today. That's mainly from the Missouri Boot Heel into West Kentucky along and south of I-24, I-69 corridor, West Kentucky Parkway. This will mainly be late this afternoon through tonight, so roughly 4 p.m. to midnight. It all really depends if we can get any surface basin stability up into our region from Tennessee. But that's where the better threat looks to be. But if we do, we could have a squall line develop with some intense damaging wind gusts and perhaps a brief spin-up tornado or two as well. So that's something we're going to be keeping a really close eye on as we go through the day. So in addition, the ground's going to be super soggy as well. So you might not even need severe level gusts to get trees uprooted and things like that. So that's another thing to consider with the severe weather risk as well. We're still expecting an Arctic temperature blast next week. After today, we'll see temperatures basically fall, near freezing for highs tomorrow on Sunday, but then basically below freezing all the way through the next week through the work week. So President's Day on Monday through a good part of next week. And then the coldest actually looks to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, where you might not even see highs above 20 degrees. And you can see our wind chill forecasts dipping into the single digits by Tuesday, and then maybe sub-zero or Wednesday night into Thursday, and then single digits all the way through Friday before we see a little bit of recovery for next weekend. So, so very dangerous, bitter cold. I'm going to talk about snow potential here next. So depending on how much snow we get, if we get clear skies, we could see temperatures really tank. If we get clear skies and calm winds and things like that. So we could potentially looking at some of the coldest temperatures of the season. We've had a number of cold shots already so far this winter. So this could be the coldest one of all, though. We're still looking at potential for accumulating snow. We've been advertising this now for the last few days. The map here shows chances of seeing 2 inches of snow, basically Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday at night through Wednesday morning. And as you can see, the chances are increasing. We have anywhere between about 55% up to 80% chance of seeing 2 inches of snow. So that's enough where you're really going to start seeing travel impacts. You might need to shovel, get the snow plows out. The temperatures are going to be quite cold. It should be all snow. We're not looking at any freezing rain or sleet at this stage. But definitely looking at some potential for travel impacts late Tuesday into early Wednesday. So if you have travel plans during this time, it might be a good time to start making alternate plans if you can, to maybe avoid not having to deal with any snowy, slippery roads. So flood watch and flood warning graphics, the flood watch is already in effect, so flooding is possible, and then flood warning means the flooding's happening, obviously. So that's when you're going to start seeing your flooding impacts. The big thing we really want to emphasize is, stay clear of flooded roads. We might see roads that don't typically flood, especially late tonight, have water over them. That can be extremely dangerous because you're not expecting it. So you're going to need to be extremely careful of venturing out late this afternoon, tonight after it gets dark, because we might have potentially flooded roads that you might not have ever seen with water over them before, and that makes it really scary. So remember that, not only can there be water in the road, there could be debris, tree limbs, rocks, you name it, that could make it even more dangerous. 1 to 2 feet of water is all it takes to sweep a vehicle off the road. And then even if the water looks calm or the water doesn't seem that deep, you don't know what's under the road. The road could have been washed out. There could have been a culvert collapse, and then you find yourself stuck, in the high water with no way to get out of your vehicle. So, that's the main things to take away. Again, we're really concerned about the flooding threat today. So be vigilant, be safe. We'll provide updates, through our normal channels, social media, NWS chat, and all that stuff. So take care, and we'll get through all this active weather, and it'll be spring before you know it.